I watched Captain Sully, which also has Tom Hanks in it. I was freaking out. And that is a success story
Oh, okay.
where he lands the plane and everyone survives and there's nothing wrong. And
So
I
you watched
still was
that, but
sitting
you
there.
won't watch Apollo 13?
I was still panicking. I was panicking the whole time. I was like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?" And Matt's like, "You know what's gonna happen. You've seen the story." I don't deal
Oh,
well with stress. I don't.
okay.
I
Well,
don't know.
either way,
It looked
everyone
great
else.
though. I hope
Okay.
everybody else enjoys
All right.
it.
All right, Lacey, we just got to come out and say it. You and I we're planning to go see Beetlejuice as our next venture in the theaters after we saw Deadpool and Wolverine. But
Yes.
how impressed are you with, and we'll get into it later, but just quick answer, how impressed are you with the marketing of the Beetlejuice team?
They're killing it. And every time I turn around, I see another way that they're working Beetlejuice into some type of food item,
It's
merchandise,
crazy.
experience. They, built the whole set for the press junkets, both in New York and LA. Like, it's insane.
I know. And like I wanted to be there. I remember seeing that press room and saying like I
Yeah.
wish I was there just to experience that. It almost feels like an
Mhm.
interactive
Mhm.
ride like when I went to that
The
Strangers thing in New
cast is
York. But
dressed yeah, the cast is dressing like they're in the movie. Yeah.
yeah, it's so good. Well, welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. We hope you had a wonderful weekend. We know it's back to school time, so for you parents out there, congratulations. You made it through summer. But
Every
we
time
hope.
this comes around, I think of that Staples commercial. It's the most
Oh
wonderful
yeah,
time with the guy on
yeah.
the cart. That was one
I
of the best ads I've ever seen in my whole
Yeah,
life.
it's look, love our kids, but you gotta get educated.
Mhm.
Well, we hope everyone had a great weekend, and we hope you enjoy this show because we have a lot to talk about. A bunch of stories. Trailer time is back, including the return of The Sopranos in a strange way. I know that's a favorite of a lot of people out there. But then also, what you watching? The return of that. But we wanted to make sure everyone checked out and enjoyed last week's episode because we debuted a new segment called the Nerd Word, where if you're familiar with TRB, we like to get our audience involved in the show. So last week, Lacey, it was, what was it? The best movies with the worst sequels. And we had some
Mhm.
great answers. So thank you to everybody who participated. And keep your eye out on our social media at Nerdy and Nice Pod across almost every platform because we're going to post more stuff to get you involved so you can get your opinions heard. Because being a nerd, you want people to know what you think about stuff, but also get you a shout out on the show. So thank you, everybody.
Mhm.
But Lacey, before I hand it off to you for what's happening, so Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. I'm so fired up about that. They're filming soon. But Gilmore himself, Adam Sandler, goes on the Tonight Show and says that Travis Kelce has been asking for a long time. So I guess he finally gave in, and he's gonna have a cameo in that or a
Oh my
small role.
goodness.
And then he's also doing another movie. Like, what's going on?
He's keeping it busy on the off season. Football's about to start up. I think his first game was last week
And we
against the
might be doing
Bears, the
a
Chicago
fantasy
Bears.
football league with TRB.
Yeah, maybe. We'll
We
see.
might.
I really wanna do it again. I think the draft party would be fun. Um, but yeah, America's favorite football player currently, Travis Kelce, boyfriend of Taylor Swift, not John's, but I would say majority of people really like him, is making his moves into Hollywood. One of our first episodes, we talked about, like, could this guy win an Oscar eventually because he's just making these moves. He was just featured in the trailer for that Ryan Murphy show that we talked about months ago, which was Grotesserie. He was in
Yeah.
that trailer. And then this news comes out from Adam Sandler that he's in Happy Gilmore. And then also he's going to star in an action comedy for Lionsgate called Loose Cannons. This guy is cleaning up roles right now. And it just reminds me of us talking about the Hawk Tuah girl a couple weeks ago, where it's like producers just try to grab onto whatever anyone is talking about, anybody that's getting big attention.
Oh, it's
And look,
nuts.
I haven't seen him act in anything, so I can't say if he's bad or good or whatever. I'm not making that judgment here. I'm just saying, based on people that we've spoken to on TRB or interacted with over the years, like Paul Sung-young Lee, who paid his dues for decades to get his own TV show and to be in other things and movies and other shows and Mandalorian, to hear someone that is getting these opportunities because, yes, he is famous, but most likely because he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend, is a little wild. I wish him the best of luck. I will still see Happy Gilmore too, even if he's in it or he's not in it. But what are your thoughts? Because I know you don't really like this kind of he's everywhere now.
Yeah, and I had my first 2 drafts this past weekend. One
Did
at my
someone
best.
grab him?
So one, so well, here's the thing. One is in a league I started at my best friend's house. The next one's gonna be my brother's.
Wow.
But I do like fantasy football players will know what this is. You do a mock draft where you practice to like based on your draft position to see what players am I going to potentially get. And Travis Kelce kept coming up on like this is probably the best player on your second pick or third pick or whatever. And I couldn't pull the trigger because I don't want to root for that guy all year.
So you didn't take him?
Well, here's the thing. Another thing with fantasy football, you don't want to load up too much on one team's players. And I'm already keeping the running back for the Chiefs. Last year I had Patrick Mahomes. You don't want to do too much with one team because then you're too reliant on that actual football team success. Whereas in fantasy football, you want the best talent from all the leagues.
But Chiefs are dominating.
Anyway, it's just too much. He's just too much. He's everywhere, and it's not even football season. So I know it's just going to get worse.
If we do a draft,
our
community better give me Travis Kelce on my team.
I mean, if you want Travis Kelce that bad, then waste your first round pick on him. But
maybe I will, or I'll get Patrick Mahomes.
You loser. But yeah. So
either or.
So we'll see. But if we do fantasy football, we'll keep everyone posted on how we're doing. But Lacey, there is other stuff happening, and we talked about it at the top. Michael Keaton is back in Beetlejuice. So let's dig into some old school marketing.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Yeah, Beetlejuice is dominating the press cycle right now. They did 2 press junkets, one in New York, one in LA, where they recreated the sets from Beetlejuice. I'm just going to call it BB because I can't say Beetlejuice on this entire episode.
From the netherworld?
He might show up here in my house. But first, there's a bunch of different pieces to this story. The first point is just as we assumed it would. It's tracking to open at as high as 80 million in North America when it comes to theaters on September 6th. Warner's, as in I'm assuming Warner Brothers, is being more conservative, suggesting 65 million to 75 million, but insiders suggest it's going to make way more money than that. Do you think it's going to crush some records? Do you think it's going to make some bank?
So the first Beetlejuice was made on a modest budget, no expectations, and I think it made like 75 million back in '88, which would be like a little over 200 million today. So this isn't like this isn't the type of movie where you're like, oh, it's gonna make 500 million or $1 billion. Like it's gonna be a modest movie. The question is, how much did they spend to make this one? I know they went back to the same town in either New Hampshire or Vermont where the house was. They did a very similar style of shooting, but things cost more today. But when I heard 80, I was shocked. So I was like, no way, Beetlejuice. Like if I had to first guess before any of these projections came out, I would have said like, if Beetlejuice opened with like $35 million, that would be huge. So that's where I was at. So now you got Warner saying 60, of others saying 50. I don't think it's going to make 80, but if Beetlejuice like reels in 58 to 60 million in an opening weekend, I think that's a win. And
it's a good movie and people start talking, it's going to make
and it's
more
a good
money.
movie and people like Michael Keaton. Like, I know he sort of went away for a little while, but that was his own call. He wanted to raise his son and stuff like that. He's always been a very likable, down-to-earth actor who doesn't treat it like he is a god. And people have nostalgia for this guy. And he's right back in the pocket. All the main players are returning. Everything makes sense for this to be good. Catherine O'Hara coming off of a resurgence with Schitt's Creek. Tim Burton's always sort of been around doing good stuff. Winona Ryder's back because of Stranger Things. Everything seems to be making sense for this to be good. Oh, Jenna Ortega. Like, everyone loves Jenna Ortega.
She's so big right now. Yeah.
So everything points to this doing really well. And I hope it does. And I hope it's really good, because what would be more perfect than actually having Beetlejuice to end it?
So would you go get the pizza they're having as a tie-in before you see the movie, or would you prefer going to Denny's? So
let's do it all.
They have a lot of tie-ins with this movie, which makes my 90s kid heart so happy, because they did this with like every movie back in the day, from Star Wars to Godzilla to everything. They have a Beetlejuice pizza, but they're calling it, this is so 2024 that they're calling it this, a collaboration between Domino's and this movie, which is a pepperoni pizza with a green sauce kind of sprayed all over it. And then it looks like they have some type of like pizza dough bites with then green and black frosting. And then they have collector cups with Bob and Beetlejuice and Lydia and her daughter. Collector cups, which are such a 90s thing now that they're coming back.
The cups look awesome.
They do look really cool. And then there's Denny's, who's introducing the new special afterlife menu, which people are saying it's already out. It's the Say It 3 Times Slam, which is basically pancakes with the normal stuff, except they put green sprinkles on it. That's what. Then they have the Afterlife Melt, which is, oh my God, I need to get this. This is a grilled cheese sandwich with mozzarella sticks on it, but the way they separate it, it looks like it has teeth in it. Like the way they cut it, it looks like teeth because of the mozzarella sticks, but
yeah.
That is cheese on bread, on fries, on deliciousness. I'm getting that. They also have the Beetlejuicy burger. Love this too. It looks like 3 patties with some sauce. I don't know how this one specifically.
What if we go and we do the thing where we order all of it?
That's what I already said. Wait, I already talked about this.
I didn't know you were serious though, because
I'm serious. I want to try every single one of these things.
You told me we got to get that pizza and then maybe Denny's. It was like the pizza was your thing. I'm thinking
I want to try everything, all of it.
Fine.
I want to try the green Fanta that's coming out from it. I want to try all of it.
Are we going to do that thing where we like record ourselves eating and stuff?
Yeah, we gotta.
Okay.
We got it. So then they have which this sounds like something made for me, the cookies and scream shake, which is cookies and cream.
Nice.
I don't understand the Beetlejuicy burger. I think they're trying to go for like, it looks like a beetle because they put the bacon diagonally, but I mean, it looks like a burger. And then they have, so they have a value menu, $2, $4, $6, $8. Save on your favorite meals before the deal meets its end. See, this is good copywriting. They did a good job on this. Well done, Denny's.
So you mean they learned their lesson from Solo?
That wasn't their fault, though. You can't blame Denny's.
They spelled Wookiee wrong.
You can blame them for that. Okay, I will walk it back on that. But I'm saying you can't blame them for the tie-in. They did a nice job. They had the collector the cards, and then the cups, and then they had like Wookiee specific stuff, Han Solo specific. Like they did a good job. They did a nice job. I want to
go to Denny's right now.
I know, right? What time is it? No, but would you try this stuff?
Oh yes, I think I'm down to do that. The not so much the Keebler stuff or the Fanta, because
they have I didn't mention the AMC theaters will be offering the Showtime snack pack.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is a bunch of just gummy worms, which I hate. Fanta, like summer slush, popcorn, and a Fanta.
With all of this and the projections for the box office, I think there's only one thing left to say, Lacey.
What?
It's dough time.
It's what time?
Dough time because they're gonna make a lot of money.
Oh, is that? Oh, you know what's funny? I looked at her notes today and I saw it's dough time, and I was like, is that a pizza joke? But now I get it. You're saying money joke.
But then they're also making the Beetlejuice pizza, so it's like a double meaning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So
there.
when we, when, all right.
It happened. You said that.
When we do our like influency video stuff for our channel on Instagram and all that stuff, you could before you bite the pizza, you can look at the camera and say it's dough time.
I'm not saying that. You can say that.
Can we say it together 3 times?
No. All right, moving on.
I'll look our waiter or waitress directly in the eyes as I'm biting the pizza and say it's dough time.
If you try to get me to say that, I'm out of there. You know who's also out of there? Chris Miller and Phil Lord. They're out of Sony TV. That's
They're
on
out.
the story. They're out. The Spider-Verse creators are no longer making spider-related things with Sony. They're also known for the Lego movie, which was like, you know, the biggest thing to happen for them for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so supposedly they just couldn't get to an agreement about budget, specifically about Nicolas Cage's movie, the Spider-Man Noir. They couldn't come together for a budget. Did you see the Spider-Verse movie that came out recently? I haven't seen it. I saw the first one.
No. I saw the first one. Yeah.
I heard
didn't
good
see
things about the second one.
Spider-Verse.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard really good things about it. And it has some of the most beautiful shots in animation I've ever seen, just from like the trailers and what people have posted online. But I'm gonna be honest, I saw this story and I was very surprised, just because they have created such big, impactful pop culture moments for Sony and for Spider-Man with Lego Movie, etc. They also were involved, as we all know, with Solo: A Star Wars Story, which they famously left because of creative differences. Do you think that this is a them problem?
It could be, but not necessarily in the way that they should be looked down upon, because I think we have found through all the podcasting we do and people we talk to and all that stuff that creators and artists from the filmmaking perspective are being snuffed out by executives who think they know better for the audience, or as they call them, consumers. So
that is a great point. Yeah, we spoke with Kyle Newman on TRB, who talked about making Fanboys and what that process was like, and he went into a whole very detailed, experience-driven story of what it's like to make movies and the choices that you make and the battles that you pick with studio executives. And we know from George Lucas that he went through a very similar situation. So yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, these guys seem like very creative types. They probably have clear visions on what they want to do, and I could see them totally being like no, like this is how we want to do it. Like, don't tell us, like, have you made movies? Like, don't tell us how to do it.
Right.
Thing.
Right.
And it makes me think, like, I know they worked with Channing Tatum for both the Jump Street movies. If they're leaving Sony, who else left Sony and went somewhere big? Spider-Man, Tom Holland, Marvel. They brought Spider-Man to Marvel. It would be pretty cool if Channing Tatum finally got his Gambit movie and these two guys are the ones who made it.
Oh my God, they'd be a great pick for that. Yeah, I'd love that.
So that's something I think could be cool. They're clearly talented guys who make hits out of things you don't expect to be hits. Like you said, Lego Movie people were probably like,
didn't they did Jump Street too?
That's what I was saying. So
yeah.
They did 2 Jump Street movies with Channing Tatum. So why not work with him again? Do Gambit. Like,
Yes.
they made 21 Jump Street, which was like an okay TV show in the late 80s, early 90s with Johnny Depp and Dom
Mhm.
DeLuise's son. They turned that into like a $800 million franchise in 2 movies. And
Yep.
then the Lego thing, like, these guys can make hits. We know what
Lego
happened with
Movie
Solo,
was
and that
so
sucks,
huge.
but
Remember how huge that was, Lego Movie?
giant monster.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge.
And then, of course, the Academy Award winning Into the Spider-Verse. So they already, like, if these guys stop making movies today, they'd have a legacy. So I feel like they have the capital. They have the leverage, because ultimately I'm pretty sure they're probably doing okay financially. Who knows? But I would assume so. They're 50 years old or whatever now, almost 50 years old. Like, they probably like, you know what? Screw you guys. You know? So
Mhm.
I'm leaning towards the artist. Whenever there's a thing between a studio and the artist, I'm gonna lean towards the artist.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
did it with J.J. Abrams. I did it with, because ultimately I believe more of what I hear from a J.J. Abrams than I do from a Bob Iger or whatever. So
Mhm. No, tons of good points there. But someone that never has issues with studios, honestly, is Ryan Johnson. And Knives Out 3, which everybody's
yeah,
waiting for, has wrapped filming, and it's starring Mila Kunis, Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Daniel Craig, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, who's coming off of Alien Romulus, which I heard people have been very torn on that movie.
Alien is back, though. Apparently, people are loving it, aren't they?
There are a lot of people that hate it. There are a lot of people that love it. There's no one
Oh,
in between. It's very interesting to see.
poor Alien fandom.
Josh O'Connor, who I believe is just coming off of Challengers, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church. It's going to be releasing on Netflix next year. And they posted it with the title, which is Wake Up Deadman, a Knives Out mystery is the subtitle, and an image of a graveyard that says, "Please be mindful of the graves," which is clearly a set photo of them being like, "Hey, don't mess this up, please." Production team's like, "Please don't walk
Yeah,
on this."
right.
Are you excited for this movie? I wasn't a big fan of the second one. I loved the first one. Second one was good. It was okay. It had its moments, but the first one was just very good.
Yeah, Knives Out was great. Glass Onion, I agree. I feel like that missed the mark a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna watch this. Is it coming? Is it just Netflix, or are they gonna try a theater thing, like
I'm sure they'll put
at
it.
the Oscars or
I'm
whatever?
sure they'll put it in the theater for a little bit, but then it will remain on Netflix. Or it
Yeah,
will debut first on Netflix and go on the theater after.
yeah. Because what didn't the first Knives Out get nominated for a screenplay Oscar?
It did.
Yeah. So, and Ryan Johnson's really talented. So,
He's
I'm
stupid talented,
this
yeah.
cast is really cool too. I like this cast on paper, at least better than the cast for number 2, because I
Mm.
I
I thought
love
Kate Hudson was good.
yeah, she was good. Yeah, she was good. I feel like it was a miss for Edward Norton though, and I usually like him. Um,
Didn't do anything for me.
Me neither. But this one, I love Josh Brolin, Daniel Craig, Andrew Scott, Jeremy Renner, Glenn Close, legend. The Mila Kunis one, all right. I'm kind of good with her for now, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to get too far into that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm going to check it out. Yeah, I'm rooting for Ryan Johnson. I think he's got a nice little. He's got his own nice little franchise on his hands here. So, and it should be a fun mystery, and hopefully, it's a little better than the second one.
I'm rooting for him too. I think he also has kind of locked down the murder mystery genre. Like no one else is really making those right now. He's kind of
Right.
taken that on as like, this is my thing. And then if anything comes out that is similar, like, oh, what is it? It's always being now compared to Knives Out.
Like Kenneth
Like,
Branagh's Poirot stories, like the
right.
yeah.
Or Murder on the Orient Express,
That's
those
that.
kinds of,
That's
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um, yeah, people are comparing them, which that means you've done an amazing job. If people are immediately like, yeah, it's kind of like Knives Out. It's,
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him too. Obviously, you and I would love to see him to make more Star Wars or
Yeah.
give us some type of update on that. But I understand that he's knee deep in this,
Maybe one
so
day. Yeah.
maybe one day. Um, But yeah, that's very cool. Someone that also is a
Oh,
director
I
of
didn't realize
Star
we stacked
Wars.
these back to back.
We
Yeah.
did. Another Star Wars director that is either loved or hated, is J.J. Abrams. We love him here, but Bad Robot is in negotiations with Warner Brothers to extend film and TV deal. So his tenure at Bad Robot with Bad Robot at Warner Brothers Television expected to cross the 20-year mark, and they're in negotiations now to extend that and stick around, which is crazy because I feel like years ago, like back in 2019, he was being discussed for, TV, film, theme park. But the current 5-year pact, valued at $250 million, there it is, was signed in September 2019 at the height of the peak TV fueled overall deal bubble. But yeah, so he's still in talks with them. Do you think he's gonna make more movies? Do you think he's working on his own thing? Because it seems like lately, guys like J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg, they're all kind of trying to make their own things now. They've done someone else's stuff. They did Star Wars, Star Trek, they did this thing, they did that, and now they're trying to make an impact of their own original story. Do you think JJ is going to be doing that? Because I think we talked about that a couple months ago where we were like, he's been pitching this idea to people.
Yeah.
He famously has the mystery box in his office that he's never opened before and he'll never will.
Right.
Do you think he's finally going to go into his own mystery box to pull out an idea?
I mean, I am such a big J.J. Abrams fan. On Resistance broadcast, we had his best friend Greg Rumberg on the show, and he affirmed that J.J. is just like this great guy and such a good friend. And you like hearing that out of Hollywood.
He sent
especially-
your impersonation to him?
Oh yeah, we got to get Greg Rumberg back on to hear what J.J. thought of my impersonation. But especially this day and age in Hollywood, you like to hear that there are good people. And so anytime you do, you want to root for those people, and that's just how I am. But with JJ, like 2019, he signs that deal for 5 years. Then Rise of Skywalker comes out, massively successful, makes over $1 billion, but it was mixed reviewed by critics. I think most casual fans really enjoyed the movie. Diehard fans were split on it. But I think that might have hurt him a bit because I don't know that he's directed a feature film since. And
I feel like he took a break. He's kind of faded away.
Yeah, and for someone of J.J. Abrams' resume and some of the big movies he's done over the years, I mean, talk about he rebooted Star Trek. He did the biggest Star Wars movie of all time with The Force Awakens. Came back to do another Star Wars. He did Cloverfield. He did Super 8. He had a ton of stuff that was wildly successful for him over a 10-year stretch, and then it's sort of. He's almost feels like he's in this producer role where he's developing things for other people. So I'm curious if that's just maybe a career choice for him, or if he's looking to get back in the saddle. This new deal could be the way to go. But I don't know what money's on deals are now, because I remember not too long ago, I don't know how many years ago it was, but when I read the deal that like the South Park guys got from Paramount,
it was $900 million.
$1 million? Yeah.
It was $900 million. And then that included, I think they said, what was it? 14 more seasons in a movie or something like that.
South Park, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how much this new deal is going to be worth, but if you believe in the talent of J.J. Abrams, it's got to be considered a bargain if it's anything close to what he got 5 years ago when things were looking better in the industry. So I'm going to keep my eye on what he's been doing. I know he produced the Presumed Innocent remake for Amazon with Jake Gyllenhaal. I still have to watch that. I heard that's decent. But I want to see, what else he's trying to do. I know he was trying to do a Superman thing for a little while with Warner Brothers. He may have even been loosely involved in the Black Superman project with Michael B. Jordan. I'm not positive on that. But either way, I'm always going to root for JJ. So whatever he's doing, I'm going to keep an eye on it. And it would be cool to see him directing another big feature one day. So,
yeah, I'm always rooting for him too. I think he just has this kind of childlike wonder that he brings to projects and the way he talks about things. And he just cares. Like, you can tell he really wants to be in the room. He wants to be there.
Yeah.
But
Broke his
seeing
back
him
for Harrison Ford.
exactly trying to pick up that door. But seeing him in 2019 after The Rise of Skywalker, he looked pretty miserable. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when you saw him out and about, and it's because he was getting slammed so much. Like, oh, fans hate your movie. Like, who wants to hear that all the time? Like, your
Oh,
fans hate your movie. What do you think about that? He was just like, look, I respect that it's a personal experience and they're gonna feel the way they feel, and I'm sorry you didn't like it. Like,
right.
what else? I think he
High
took a
road.
time. I think after that, and from what we've heard rumor wise of like how the studio experience, similarly to what we were just talking about with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, of what JJ went through, where it was so many studios were involved. You had Lucasfilm and then you had Disney, and everybody was trying so many changes happening at the last minute and doing this. And
Michelle
you can't,
Rejwan.
right, you can't do this, and one more person gets added. And I think he just was like, I'm taking a break. I'm
Yeah.
stepping back, refocusing, and coming back later. Which I appreciate. You know, mental health is so important. So anytime someone feels like something's too much, I can't help but applaud them if they're like, you know what? I'm taking a break. See you later. I'm worried about me right now. And it seems like he's doing that.
Oh,
But
wait a minute. People are gonna be annoyed at this, but
what?
I just read this and it applies, so forgive me, but it says on May 8th, I forgot about this. Abrams will write and direct an untitled new film with Glenn Powell and talks to star for Bad
Yeah, we talked
Robot.
about that weeks ago.
I forgot about that though. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Back in the saddle. So there we go. And that is in conjunction, I guess, with the new 5-year deal. Sorry, go ahead.
Why would people be mad about that?
Because we're talking about Glenn Powell.
Oh, sorry guys, he's in everything, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think still, because it's still 2024 to 2019 to 2024, I still think JJ's took a step back and was like, let me rethink what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Because the industry isn't what it was in 2019. COVID, the strikes,
Yeah.
everything is different. And from what I've been reading online from not just journalists, but industry articles, insiders, sources, etc., is that around the industry, everybody is saying survive till 2026. That is what agents are telling their actors. That is what people in the crews are telling each other. It's like, we just got to get to 2026. So that to me says the rest of this year is going to be tough, and the rest of next year is going to be tough. And people are just trying to get movies out into the theater to make money, to get the industry back to a place where they can take risks. Right now, they're in safe mode. And so everybody's just sitting around being like, get to 2026, survive until 2026. I saw a tweet thread from a journalist today saying, I just got out of a meeting with a bunch of people that said, like, just survive till then. Like, why do people keep saying this? And everybody was explaining to them, like, the industry is not in a good spot. Like, they've been through a lot. And
Yeah.
studios are being very selective of what projects they're moving forward with. They're being, as we've seen with obviously big news, Acolyte was canceled this past week. They're being very selective on what they greenlight, what's ending, who's getting money, who isn't getting money, what actors to go with. That's why you're seeing Glenn Powell and everything, because he's bankable. Everybody knows
Right.
that every movie he's done so far has made money. So they're going to keep, just like Chris Pratt, they're going to keep hiring people that make money, because you know what? That's what they need right now, is money.
Yeah.
So I wish J.J. Abrams the best. I hope he gets the deal he wants. I hope the movie with Glenn Powell turns out to be great. But yeah, it's crazy. What's also crazy is similarly, when I just said they shouldn't be taking risks, someone is, and it's Chick-fil-A, surprisingly. This headline, I have to read it. Chick-fil-A hatches plans for a streaming service as reality TV comes home to roost.
You can't do two. You can't do two.
Okay,
Like-
Peter White, it's a little much. This is from Deadline. So Chick-fil-A is moving aggressively into the entertainment space with plans to launch a slate of originals for its own streaming platform. Deadline understands that the fast food firm has been working with a number of major production companies, watch it be J.J. Abrams, including some of the studios, to create family-friendly shows, particularly in the unscripted space. It is also in talks to license and acquire content. They're doing a family-friendly game show from NBC's The Wall. They're also doing series such as Netflix's 13 Reasons Why. Oh no, this person's behind series like 13 Reasons Why. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, is this something that they're having in their restaurants? I'm not fully understanding. Like, this is one of those things that I feel like I wish I could just be a fly on the wall in one of these meetings where someone was like, look, Tony, what do you got? And he's like, what if we start our own streaming service? They're like, well, we were just talking about running ads on something, but you know what, Tony? You're right. We should just do our own. Like it just, that's what this feels like to me. And I've been in meetings like that where you're like, well, we were just going to buy ad space. And they're like, well, why don't we do our own? And they don't fully think about it. And there's so many streaming services now that are combining, ending
bundles.
Yeah, you have Peacock who admits they're losing billions of dollars a year. So it's surprising to me that Chick-fil-A is like, you know what we really need? A streaming service.
I guess they're doing the cheap route though, because they're doing like reality/game shows.
Yeah.
Which
but what's
I
guess what's the pull there though? Like, is it to sit in their restaurants and watch TV?
Maybe it's just as simple as the owners of Chick-fil-A are big movie and TV fans, or you know, their whole brand is about like the wholesomeness. So maybe they want to hit you with some wholesome programming as a alternative to
maybe
all the sex and disgusting things out there.
I guess so. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this to see where it goes. But I mean, that's crazy.
I don't think I imagine being like, honey, I need you to get me my what's my new expiration date on my credit card? Our Chick-fil-A service got canceled.
Yeah, what's the password to the Chick-fil-A account? It's so weird. It is so weird.
Your avatar, and it's like a freaking cow.
It's gonna be nuggets or shake or
yeah.
It's probably gonna be different cows, to be honest, because that's their whole thing, right? Like, eat more chicken.
Chick-fil-A just starts making more money than Disney Plus somehow, and Bob Iger just like dies.
Oh my God. He's like, I
chicken
can't
beat the mouse.
Or here's the kicker. Ready? It's not Iger upset, but Chapek goes and works for Chick-fil-A to launch their new streaming service.
But he just works at a Chick-fil-A.
What?
They just have him running the register at a Chick-fil-A.
No, he's the one that launches their streaming. Our new CEO or president, Bob Chapek. Remember, everyone would be like, "What?"
But Chick-fil-A girl, how about her?
Who's Chick-fil-A girl?
Chick-fil-A sauce girl.
Oh, is that the GIF that you used online where the girl's like, "What? What?"
You don't remember that?
I never saw the video, but I know the GIF from it.
Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, anyway. What else?
Time for some trailers.
All right, let's do it. Trailer time.
Oh God, I love that movie.
It's trailer time. All right, welcome to trailer time. So let's kick it off. We got 3 trailers. The first one is a 2-part documentary look back on one of the most watched, most successful TV shows of all time, The Sopranos. And it's David Chase and The Sopranos. It's going to be a in-depth interview with David Chase about the making of the series. How much of his real life did he write into it? How much did he want to make Tony a caricature of him? All that good stuff. Trailer came out. Lacey, you did not watch The Sopranos, as I understand it.
I did not, but I know that you're a huge fan because you're the one that's always defending the ending of Sopranos.
Oh, the ending's perfect. One of the greatest endings in the
hate
history of television. It took
You also defended Game of Thrones, so you're kind of a 2 for 2.
I love Game of Thrones. Well, again, one of the most successful shows of all time.
I'm just saying the very kind of controversial endings of things.
I also like The Rise of Skywalker.
You're proving my point.
People need to get on board, man. So I will admit this because I don't like to fake it, but my friend of mine sent me a video that really went into the detailed explanation of why the end of The Sopranos was good, and that made me realize that it was good. So check out a
So it
video
wasn't your
explaining.
own reaction. It was after some
Well, I
influence.
remember because I was late to watching The Sopranos. I didn't watch it when it first aired, and I remember people freaking out about it. So I knew that there was a controversial ending. And you're also talking to a Seinfeld fan, and that finale is terrible.
Oh, you hated that one?
I did not like it, even though Larry David came back to write it. I knew what they were trying to do. It just, I don't know. Anyway, I just wish it was a regular episode of the show. That would have been a perfect ending to Seinfeld if they were just doing something monotonous. It would have been the most
I always
Seinfeld
like
thing ever.
Yeah, I always like the end of shows when they just kind of look at the camera, acknowledge you, and then shut the door.
Yeah, like we don't need characters to be going through some massive life-changing thing. It could just be like, no, the show's just ending. They're going to go on and keep doing their thing, you know?
Or like the camera would pan out from their table in that diner that they eat at or something like that. I always like those kind of
Yeah.
comforting endings.
But Sopranos does not have a comforting ending, but it was an incredible show. I rewatched it once already. I plan to do it again. Highly recommend to anybody who hasn't watched it. But I'm gonna check this out because I love making up stuff as it is, and if it's a show that I love, I'm on board. So I'm gonna check this out. But next up, bizarre one out of Kyle Mooney, former SNL alum. He was there for like 10
Who's
years.
in it? He's in it.
In it. Yeah, he plays like a stoner or something. Starring Rachel Zegler. So her movie right before Snow White, I imagine, coming out in December. Y2K. Lacey, what did you think of this trailer? It starts off one way and then it's like, what is this?
Yeah, so it starts off kind of like any 90s teen movie where it's like it reminded me very much of Superbad. It was like the last night of our lives,
Can't
like
hardly
best,
wait. The
yeah,
nerd wants the
best night.
girl
We're
thing.
gonna
Yeah.
go to the party. This party's gonna be epic, like
Right.
that kind of thing. And then they get there, and then the premise is that Y2K does happen because famously nothing happened. It does happen, and all the robot technology starts taking over. So like the Tamagotchi attacks them, like basically Skynet, but ridiculous comedy version of Skynet.
Right.
I appreciate the style featured in the movie because it's 90s and that's really big right now. But like, you know, Rachel Ziegler's hair where she has the butterfly clips and stuff made me kind of laugh. But it was very jarring because I was like, what is this? And then once it happened, you're like, oh, there are people like legit dying on screen, like having their heads blown off, burnt to death, all these crazy. It just looks like one of those movies that if it was on TV or on Netflix, I'd probably be like, let me check this out. I'm not going to go to the theater to see it, but it
Yeah.
seems like it would be a funny, let me try 10 minutes, see how it is. And then you find yourself being like 40 minutes in, you're like, I'm 40 minutes, let me watch the rest. And like you end up being like, that's fine. It was funny. It's going to have its moments, I think. But is it going to be life-changing? No, but the premise is pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I liked the fact that I was watching the trailer and I knew nothing about this movie going in, which was
Neither
good.
did I. And we watched it together, by the way, before this episode
We didn't do a
together.
reaction video or anything. But,
Yeah, no. We should have, the way we reacted.
So I, like you, was like, oh, this is going to be a throwback to like Can't Hardly Wait and like you were saying, Superbad or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this girl gets killed by, some very
Tamagotchi.
late 90s device, and it goes off the rails almost like This Is the End. That was what I thought of, was that movie, This Is the End.
Yes. Yep.
And Jonah Hill is a producer on this, so maybe a little bit of that flavor there. It's an A24 movie, so I don't think it has all that big of a budget, but it had its world premiere in March, and on Rotten Tomatoes with those critics, it has a 63. So it's gonna be like, oh, it's an okay, like you're saying. I think
That's
like,
what I just said. It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So I don't know that I'm gonna go see this in the theater, but I do and I'm still not. I know she's young and she probably is maturing to do. I'm still not a fan of Rachel Zegler. That's those Snow White quotes are just outlandish that she said. I can't believe that she said that stuff. But anyway, Fred Durst playing himself is pretty funny because like Limp Bizkit's back somehow, just like Creed, like all the bands that really
because
weren't
the
that good
90s are in.
back. Yeah,
Gen Z loves the 90s, which is funny because they make
but
fun
they
of
love the
millennials.
bad 90s. But anyway,
None of the 90s is bad.
I can, huh?
I like all the 90s.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like Creed is back. Like, come on.
With arms wide open.
Butt rock.
That's all over TikTok. That is like a very big meme on TikTok. Yeah.
So not going to go see this in the theaters. I do appreciate that it subverted me and my expectations of what it was going to be. So I applaud that, and it's also a unique idea, which is cool. So applaud A24 for continuing to do that type of stuff. But I'll check it out for sure when it comes to home video. But fun. And then the last one we have here. Not sure how you are with like history and stuff like that, or if you're into this, but Apollo 13 Survival is coming out to Netflix on September 5th. I remember when the Ron Howard movie came out, Tom Hanks in 95. I saw it in the theater and I was so enamored by like this true story about how these astronauts in 1970 were supposed to land on the moon, and all of a sudden it was these guys might die in space. And what it took on the ground with the limited technology they had at the time to figure out how they can figure out a way to get home is a very compelling story. And this is going to take you back from a real perspective. It looks like they really upgraded the camera, the film to make it look cleaner. And you're going to really get inside of like mission control and what they had to do to bring these three men home. And it's just an incredible story. Now, I don't know if that's something that's up your alley, but for anyone who's interested in Apollo 13 or American history and sort of those odd triumphs from disasters, right in your wheelhouse, September 5th, Netflix, which I will be watching. What about you, Lacey? What do you think?
This doesn't intrigue me whatsoever. I have this like weird fear of space that I've realized over the past few years. I love Star Wars because it's not real, it's fake, space fantasy. But like actual space movies make me anxious. The idea of being somewhere that like you can't breathe outside, you could
I get
literally
that.
explode.
Yeah.
The idea of like getting lost in space, it's just nothing. It's a lot of scary things out there, just like the ocean. The ocean is another thing that like that was a fear I unlocked last year was ocean.
You just unlocked that?
Yeah. I unlocked that fear last year with that submersible that you like realize how deep the ocean actually is, and like they don't really know everything that's in the ocean.
I love that
you
your
know
fears come from other people's experiences and not like something that happened to you.
that's terrifying though.
No, I know, but it's not like when you said I unlocked my fear of the ocean, I'm like, oh, she got hit by a wave and got pulled in by the undertow, and you're like, no,
I
that
don't go in the
Titanic
ocean.
sub that 2 miles down below the surface of the ocean.
I
I'm
gotta tell you,
afraid of that.
I don't go in the ocean. I don't really like it to begin with because I don't like the idea of not knowing what's in the ocean. I
Wait,
think
on your
that's a fear.
vacation, you didn't go in the water at all?
Nope.
Not a foot in the water.
Nope. I like the pool. I'll go in the pool all day. I don't like the ocean. It just there's stuff in there.
Maybe you don't do those beach
Animals.
vacations then. I don't know.
Okay, first of all, my daughter loves the beach. Archie loved the beach. Matt loved the beach. Just because I didn't go in the water doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I sat on the beach with the baby.
When I get a first of all from Lacey, I know I'm in trouble. Because usually there's no second of all, and the first of all is just like there's so much behind it.
I have a book and I'm just laying it on the table.
You
Listen.
need to start it by making me think I'm about to get hit with a list, so that the first one is so heavy that I just can't take anymore. And you don't have any more anyway, so it's good.
Second of all, the pool is cleaner.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
Apollo 13. At least there's chlorine. It doesn't look interesting, but I have to admit, watching the trailer, the production quality is great. Like the interviews, the way they do the Ken Burns effect with photos and stuff like that. it's very well done. So I appreciate that. I always look at things from the production value of like, did they actually think this through, and what's the best way to create the story on the materials that they have, which are mostly photos and, you know, interviews. They don't have a lot of video footage of this. So and they do though a little bit.
I'm interested to see how much, because I bet there's stuff we haven't seen because the film wasn't good enough or wasn't allowed to be released yet. Like, I'm curious to see it, because there's been plenty of documentaries about Apollo 13. It is one of the most famous moments in our history. And
is that the Houston we have a problem?
Yes, it is.
Ah, got it.
Yeah.
Why are you making that face? I've never seen the movie.
Well, do you not know what happened to these guys?
No.
Okay. Can I tell you real quick?
Is it that they went into space, something went wrong with a rocket, and then they landed in the ocean?
So they were going to land on the moon. Part of their ship exploded.
Which part? The rocket?
No. Like, they were done rocketing. They were already like on their way to the
They
moon.
were done rocketing. You sound like such a scientist.
They were on the way to the moon with the gravitational pull. They stirred their oxygen tanks, and apparently something that was put in that tank long before they ever did this mission triggered an explosion, blew out their whole thing, and that was their oxygen tank. So they were losing oxygen. They were literally going to suffocate.
So this is the submersible in space.
No,
these two stories are very similar.
No, because this isn't some billionaire jackass who thinks he knows better than real people. This was NASA.
I know they're not up there with a Logitech play game controller.
Because that wasn't out yet.
And they're not sitting up there with their socks, no shoes, because they weren't allowed to have shoes.
But needless to say, they were losing oxygen, and everyone on the ground at Mission Control had to figure out how to create something out of the materials they had in their ship to help filter out carbon dioxide. And they did that, but then at the same time, they had to go survive in the little thing that's supposed to just land on the moon. And they figured out a way to blind fly with the Earth in the window. It was like a 1 in a billion chance for these guys to not only survive, but get home. And they did it. It's just like, it's an incredible story. And if you don't like, watch the Ron Howard movie, but also like, just look at it's a true testament of the human spirit. That's what it is. And caring about your fellow man. It's very cool.
You really like that movie. That's really nice.
I like the whole story. I love when like people, like the will of people to help other people. Yeah. That's why I'm really excited about the new Superman. Like, it's going to be that, like, that will to like help people. Like, I love that.
That's nice. I feel bad that I haven't seen it.
I think you would actually really like it. There's a lot.
I don't think I would, because it has a lot of anxiety. It sounds like it has a lot of like stress and tension.
It's a true story, and it has a nice ending.
I don't think you remember. I watched Captain Sully, which also has Tom Hanks in it. I was freaking out. And that is a success story where he lands the plane and everyone survives and there's nothing wrong. And I still was sitting there.
You watch Apollo 13?
I was still panicking. I was panicking the whole time. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And Matt's like, you know what's going to happen. You've seen the story. I don't deal well with stress. I don't.
Okay. Well, either way.
It looked great, else, though. I hope everybody else enjoys it.
All right, Lacey. Well, with that in mind, I'd like to ask you what you watching.
We can never leave the house and would just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
I am watching pretty much the same things I was watching last week because I got to finish them this week, which was Emily in Paris and the Blue Ribbon Baking Competition, both on Netflix. I thought that Emily in Paris was only 4 episodes. It ends up it's half of the season, but they didn't say that up front, so it was weird. They said it at the end. So our characters are in a weird position. Emily's back with the guy she originally was supposed to be with, but then is intrigued by this other guy, and they teased it at the end. And then
cool.
her friend is pregnant with the guy that she's with, but like they're together, and he's
a bunch of swingers.
Well, they were dating at the time, even though he was in love with Emily. He still dated the other lady, the woman, Camille, and got her pregnant. And then Camille realized she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he didn't want to be with her anymore, but they want the baby. So they're doing like a nice parenting thing. Gabriel.
So the show should be called Gabriel in Camille.
You're so, I mean, in Emily too. So he's
Oh,
in.
so would you call it a ménage à trois?
Oh my god, you're so dumb. All right, moving on. I finished watching Blue Ribbon Baking, which
Yes.
made me realize that I want to become a baker now. I want to like learn
Nice.
how to make all the things.
You're good. You make great cookies and stuff already. So there you go.
Thank you very much. I take pride on my cookies
The
because
Christmas cookies.
I make Christmas cookies every year.
Yeah.
It's called Gilleran Palooza.
And I get a box.
I make like 20 different types of cookies. I did make you a box. I was so proud of that box. I was like, look at all the stuff
I'm
in
trying to
here.
think of which one was my favorite. There was one with like a
You liked the cinnamon toast bars.
those were very good. Then there
Mhm.
wasn't there one with not a push button, but like there was something in the middle of one of the cookies. I forget what it was.
There's
Like,
peanut
a
butter
Hershey
with
Kiss? Was
well,
that it?
there's peanut butter cups in the middle of peanut butter cookies.
That's it. That was
Those
it.
are those are
Those were good.
delicious.
Oh.
But yeah, they do like baking with different types of themes, and it's basically British Bake Off, but the American version. So that I'm sure when they went into a meeting, they pitched it that way. They were like British Bake Off, but American. So we'll put it at a state fair. And last week I did go to a state fair here in our state of Connecticut, and it felt really cool because I was like, I'm watching British Bake Off or Blue Ribbon Bake Off, and I'm here at a state fair, and I felt very American.
There you go.
It's been a very American summer for me with the Olympics, the
Very
elections.
very patriotic.
Yeah. Blue Ribbon Baking. And then, of course, I'm also watching Bluey as always. Still so good. So good.
So good.
Have you tried watching it? Did you watch a couple episodes?
I did. You're right about the whole like they really tap into like the difficulties of parenting. I forget what it was.
They
There was
get
one
you.
Yeah, there was one situation I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." Yeah. I
But
got
then
to
there's
watch
the
one
mo-
more. But
yeah, and then there's always moments that like they pause, they hold it so that you have a moment to be like, "Oh my god, that's so right." And then
yeah.
they cut to the end. My favorite is at the beginning where they're just like, and this episode is called The Claw. That's my favorite part of the episode that they tell you what the episode is. So it's like, this episode is restaurant.
Right. I do have to watch a little more. You're right.
I should send you the one that made me sob on vacation. Like
Okay.
straight up. I was watching it like I went back and watched it again when my kids were asleep by myself because I got bits and pieces of it. I was sobbing.
Does
It was
anyone
so good.
die?
No,
Oh, all
it's
right.
Bluey.
Okay, look, Futurama with the dog. That was horrible.
I've never seen
Um,
Futurama.
Oh my god, do not watch that episode. All right. I am watching. Oh, speaking of
I was gonna say, speaking of dying,
lighthearted stuff, I don't know how I got swept into this. I think Kathleen said she loves watching true crime stuff.
so she was watching Emily last week, True Crime this week. So it sounds like her and I watched the same.
We
thing.
watched this together because I remember when this murder happened, I was in college and I remember it being like this big thing. It was like almost like the first of these guys who kill their wives thing or pregnant wives thing. It was like Scott Peterson killing his wife, and
I remember this, and you know why?
because of the name,
Yes,
but it's spelled differently.
it is spelled differently.
But I'm sure you got jokes about it when it was happening, though.
I worked at a country club at the time it was happening, and every old dude was like, "Oh, like the woman that just got murdered?"
Yeah, it's so
And
stupid.
I'd be like, "Yeah," and they're like, you kind of look like her." It was every guy all
don't look like her.
summer. I don't. All summer long, I got it. Every single guy. I was like, can we wrap
But
this up?
It's so yeah, it is for American Murder Lacey Peterson on Netflix, and it's a 3-part documentary about the whole thing. And he was convicted, he was sentenced to the death penalty, and then that got changed to life in prison, and now he's trying to get a new trial based on some alleged he's trying to
Spoilers.
get this is in the news. Like this
I
isn't
haven't watched it yet.
this isn't Stranger Things chapter 8. This is real life.
This is my
Like
life.
if I was like Lacey, I'm like a tsunami's heading for Connecticut. You're like spoilers. I want to experience that organically. Thank you. Like, what is wrong with you? Don't tell me. I want to get hit by the wave, like, without knowing it. So,
I want to experience it organically.
jerk. Anyway, this guy's trying to get a new trial and stuff, but this details exactly how it all went down. And like, for anyone to think that this guy could be remotely innocent is just Casey Anthony wild to me. But
I still can't believe how she got off.
I remember listening on the
idea.
radio when that verdict came out, and I was like, I do not believe in the justice system anymore.
It's definitely broken. Yeah.
Anyway, that is what I've been watching in addition to, the Yankees and all this other stuff, and they make me rip my hair out sometimes, even though they have a good record. But Aaron Judge, like, for anybody who isn't a big baseball fan, if you want to see what it was like watching Babe Ruth, watch Aaron Judge play every day, because the guy's hitting home runs every day. He's clearly above and beyond anybody else in baseball, and it's a special thing. So go Yankees, go Aaron Judge. Let's try to win a World Series, and then I'll
You've been talking about this. When's the last time they won?
2009.
I was gonna say that was the year I was in college because people went nuts.
Yeah, that was a good one. They need.
I was driving around the campus blasting Frank Sinatra. I remember that.
There you go. That's what it's all about. We need to chase those feelings, folks. Let's do it. All these, like, all our listeners who are non-Yankee fans are like, just shut up. Just do your spiel and end the show. I'm like, all right, we'll do. So
I want to experience that organically, John.
Organically. There's no GMOs in that spoiler alert. All right. Thanks everybody for listening and watching and being a part of what we got going on here at Nerdy and Nice. And also TRB. Of course, if you like Star Wars, check out the Resistance broadcast. It's on its own feed, but on the same channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. And if you want to support what we do, whether you're new to us or old school and you have a few bucks, we couldn't do this stuff, creating a new show and everything we do, because it's just the two of us, without your support. So if you don't mind, at least go check it out. Patreon.com/TRB podcasts. Tiers start at $5. And now that summer's winding down, we are going to start planning some additional bonus stuff. It's exclusively on Patreon, including watch-alongs of movies for Nerdy and Nice. So any nerdy type of movie, and of course, Star Wars with TRB. So it's a great time to join us. We have yearly subscriptions too, which give you a discount, but just check it out, please. Patreon.com/TRB podcasts. Any support means a great deal and goes a long way. And a big shout out to our movie star generals and our silver screen spice runners. So we have the generals: Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Colin Cormier, and Stephen Garrow. And the silver screen spice runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the Fort Worthian. And anyone who supports TRB in any way, whether that's through Nerdy and Nice, Resistance broadcast, both, or you just like the two of us for some reason. Some people said they'd listen to us talk about complex machinery, so maybe we do that. I don't know. But Lacey, where can people hit you up to chat about all the good stuff we like to talk about?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And of course, on this podcast at Nerdy and Nice Pod, TRB podcast as well. And then let us know how we're doing via comments, shares. Let us know how you watch the episodes, listens to the episodes. Those are always cool. Let us know if you take us on the go. Leave reviews. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. For me, Johnny Hoey on X and Blue Sky, and my other movie pod, Just Like the Movies, doing Caddyshack next. And yeah, TRB Thursday. We'll be back with you live to talk more about.
That's another one
Star
I get
Wars.
all the time, by the way.
What's that?
Lacey underalls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the big three.
What
Cagney
about
and Lacey.
Chabert?
Chabert, I don't get as much. To be honest.
Interesting.
Because the people making those jokes are usually a little older. Like Cagney and Lacey, Lacey underalls, Lacey Peterson. Like those are like, I don't know, older people.
Yeah. And you're like, haha, yeah, I get it.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like when I was a kid, people would call me Johnny Five, Johnny Appleseed. I'm like,
Johnny Quest.
I did get Johnny Quest in middle school.
Johnny Appleseed.
You don't know who Johnny Appleseed is?
I do. That's just a weird thing to call you.
I know, but
Mhm.
that's what the girls did back then to tease me. All right, time to get out
What
of
was
here.
that
We hope it-
face? What
I
was
don't-
that? What
I
did
don't-
you
that was
just? Where'd that come from?
That was my Johnny Appleseed face. They're
Please
spreading
don't-
those apple seeds around town.
Please don't ever do that again. It's so weird.
Well, Mondays are for the nerds, and nerds are weird. So thank you, Lacey. All right, everyone, have a
Not
wonderful
like
week.
that.
We will see you next week in September. I don't believe that. Is that real?
Yeah, Labor Day. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you on Labor Day for another episode right here on Nerdy and Nice. So until then, have a great week. We'll see you Star Wars fans Thursday, and we'll see you around, kids.